All right, this is stage 3. It's called Feel the Heat, and this is also at the Long Island Championship. Let's watch it, and then we'll break it down. All right, so that was stage 3, and now we're going to break it down. So to start, this is a gun on table, unloaded magazine to the left or right of the gun, wrists above shoulders. And this is I wouldn't say a super common start, but it's definitely something we've done a few times, probably about a good 6 times we started this way. When you do start this way, you're only allowed to start with 10 rounds in magazine. You're not allowed to start with one in the gun because it's not coming out of your holster. So the start, we start wrist above shoulders, RO calls go. We'll skip that. Skip to the shooting. So right off the bat, we are off to an extremely good start. We fan the steel, bang, 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 did what I needed to do there. Take my step over to the left, engage 2 targets, 4 shots. I think Joe would also say the same. I think we did a phenomenal job engaging this. I was off to an extremely hot start. Joe, would you think so?
Yeah, I would say for starting, gun on table, magazine on table. It was a quick reload, guns up, gets a perfect fan on the waterfall for the steal, enters the shoot, and play the video really quick. Something to notice here, hit pause. He's stepping back here. Like he's like transitioning backwards. He's not taking full strides, but he's taking small baby steps. But it's still he's going in the right direction to lead to his next set of targets. So he's saving. A lot of people like to say, "Oh, that really does nothing," or "What's the point? You rather be static and shoot." But when it comes to like high level shooting, he's saving fractions of seconds by doing that.
Gauge 2, come over. So we're turning to the next array of targets. We're in a reload. Gun is pointing in the safe direction. No 180. Didn't break the 180. Don't ever plan to. Come in. Quick 2 there. Those were, I think, alphas. Not sure. And this next array is where we go downhill. It goes downhill very quickly. As this stage, at the end of the stage, the round completion, I shot 35%. I had 14 alphas, 7 charlies, 1 delta, 4 mics, and 1 procedural. I don't know where the procedural came from. Not too sure. I think it was from a failure to engage, which that's where they gave me the mic and the procedural. But
I believe you do get a procedural for that if you
but
fail to
needless
engage
to
the target.
say, let's continue watching. So here we put 2. There we put 2, and this is where it goes downhill very quickly. So mental error immediately right there. After my 2 there, I hezzy. This is my hezzy as I went to go shoot this target, not realizing I not even in line to shoot it. So I wasted, I don't know, probably a good half a second to 3/4 of a second there. Didn't make that back up. Can't make that back up. So we go in, we shoot. Second shot, as you can see, is a miss on the hardcover right there. So I put 1 on paper and then delta. So I immediately was just over tensioning my grip. And you could probably see right here, you could see how tight I'm grabbing my gun just from how wobbly the gun is in my hand. And it's not wobbling because it's loose, it's wobbling because I'm over tensing my hand. And as the stage goes on, the longer a stage goes on, that is the most common issue you get is you will get overtension of your primary hand and loosening of your support hand. But to go back to where we were, I made another mistake right here. So I shot a mic and then I cleaned it up with 2 more shots. So we're already losing another quarter of a second trying to make up the shot that I already mic'd on. And although it was on the border, I realized it in my head. And I will say is, as if you guys want to go compete, if you're watching this and you want to compete, if you realize that you shot a mic on a tuxedo or a half tux, go back and shoot it. Make it up. If it if you if you can, do it. Make it up. It's worth not getting the -10 for the no shoot. Right, Joe?
Yep, I agree.
So we'll go on and then we're done. So I had a where'd you say I only put 1 shot? Where did I only shoot 1?
No, here. So coming into this, these targets you're about to shoot, that middle target you never engage. The second one on the right.
This one?
No,
Oh,
on
no.
the right. So rewind. There's 2 targets
Yeah,
there.
yeah, there's
So
2
that
targets right here. So this was 2 mics and a procedural just from not shooting this target because during my stage plan, I actually wanted to come to this corner. And the last second, I changed my stage plan, which brings me to a good point. When you are stage planning, you should stick to your the stage plan that you had the 5 times that you were doing it and not change it on the last one. If somebody has a different stage plan from you, just stick to your stage plan. Don't copy other people's stage plan unless somebody brings up, "Hey, like, listen, you definitely need to do this. Don't do this." And then in your head, you're gonna have to do it because mentally, you'll only have on a level 2 match, 2 minutes for stage planning. And that 2 minutes you have to memorize until you're up. So you don't get to practice the stage after that. So you only have 2 minutes to game your stage plan. Whereas like a level 1 match, you have 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes to stage plan all this stuff. And they give you the 5 minutes or they give you 2 minutes in reality. So I meant to stand right here and pop this target, but that's another mental error that is made and it cost me a lot of time. It cost me 2 mics and a procedural just from not engaging this target. And then as we said, that was another mental error, the hesitation to go back to this way, but I actually had to go back to the right. That's another mental error, and that just cost me time. And it's
another
shown.
good thing another good thing to bring up here, pause it, go back. Let's assume that this was going to be a flawless run where you could see like you lose half a second too is you overstepped this spot by like a foot, right? Because when you came in here, go back even further. When you came in here, you had to step back 1 step to shoot the left target. See?
Yes. So
So,
I could have
yeah,
shot both of these targets from where I'm shooting this target. And that is another mental error. And I think a lot of people don't realize that when you're shooting these competitions, the majority of the game and being good at this game, because essentially that's what it is a game, is a mental aspect of it. Your shooting you could be one of the greatest shooters and shoot all alphas. But if you make mental errors and you keep slowing your time down, you're just not going to make hit factor. You're not going to have a good one and that's what it's about. It's about doing everything at speed. And when you're especially at Ellipsa, and I've said this before, these stages that you're shooting is heavily dependent on time because we're only limited to 10 rounds and there's only so much targets they can put out there before you have to reload or do this or do whatever. Where if we had the normal capacity 22 round magazines, you can make a more target friendly low hit factor stage where on lower hit factor stages, points matter, points over time. But out here, time is king. So, there's a lot to this sport, and a lot of people think that it's just a shooting aspect. And the shooting aspect, especially when you get to the upper ranks, B class, I would say is the start of when you start to have to be like a good mental focus game. That's when it starts, and then it only gets harder and harder and harder because once you get to A class, it's all mental. A B class shooter is still a phenomenal shooter in my book, like marksmanship wise. It's just everything else that's hard and you're not doing right. Even C class, like even at C class, you're still a good shooter. I'd say the lowest class that is probably like you got to start putting things together is D class. C class you start putting the shooting together. B class is like the beginning of the mental game, and then A class is mental game. M class is extreme mental, and then GM you've pretty much mastered the mental aspect of the game. What is your input, Joe? What
Nothing.
is
I agree. I agree. I mean, it's what you're saying is true. Overall, I just like I said, there's like you could look at this from a point of view of if he was running this perfect, like you could break down all the mental errors and stuff, but nobody's perfect. Like even GMs make mistakes. And
true?
the sad truth is one mental error could literally cost them the match. Like if you
That is
look
true. That is very true.
if if you look at scores from people like even in the past, like Ben Stoker, or like current shooters like Brantley, like if they post their scores and you could see that the difference was like a fraction of a second or like 2 points, like that's one mental error right there, or that's like one step in the wrong direction.
As a matter of fact, I will tell you guys, a member of Team NXG, he missed B class by a 0.5%. He missed B class because he shot an extra Charlie on a classifier. And I'm not kidding about that. Had he not shot the Charlie, he would have made low B class. He would have shot at over 60%, but he shot at 59.6%. So he missed B class because of a Charlie and a 0.5%. And that just goes to show you that, all the points and time matters. Had he shot the stage, had he shot the classifier just a half a second faster or a second faster, he would have made B class. But that's the name of the game. And uh, when you make mental errors like that, it costs you a lot. And I will say the very good things, I did do good things on this stage, and they were all in the beginning. And I will say the best thing that I probably did was my marksmanship on the steel, which not that difficult for me at least. But stepping back and shooting these targets was actually beneficial for my time because it got me closer to my next sector. But I will say the downside to trying to be quicker to the next sector is your reloads need to be faster. And you need to be good at reloading because if I mess up the reload, I mess up coming into the sector with my gun up. And that's just based off of me taking side steps because if you don't take the steps backwards, then you have a little more time to reload, but you're going to be just a slightly slower. And this is when we talk about the mental game. You have to make these conscious decisions during your stage planning off of your shooting ability because everybody else's ability is not your ability. So I was watching the stage and it was shot actually a couple of different ways. I think there was at least 4 to 5 different stage plans on this stage alone. And I will say for me as a shooter, stepping back was the best way to do it because I know I have confidence in my reload. My reloading ability, I am very confident with. And it shows in the video because I was able to take the steps back, come into the sector, my gun was ready to go, and I shot the targets and did what I needed to do. It was just unfortunate that the second half of this stage was where it all fell apart because I was off to a very, very good start. And it's not something that I could critique. I could have maybe done it a little faster, but a lot of good things happened in the first part of the stage, but it just unfortunately all fell apart during the second half. And I have to live with that. I got to get better on my mental game, and that's the hardest part. Shooting USPSA is the mental game. It's very hard, and it gets very stressful, especially on hot days and long days. Mental game falls apart. Mental fatigue is a real thing. Anything else, Joe? Any last words?
We covered it.